Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJN TV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJN TV Insiders.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DJ Spotlight here on Disc Jockey News TV. Confetti the First, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Yes, I am so stoked to have you on. I know that I kind of caught wind of you through Block to Block, the radio show. Yeah. So we'll kind of probably touch on that at some point in the interview, but let's hear about your early beginnings of your career. What did that look like, and how did that kind of help you create that roadmap to what to do next?
Sure. Well, a lot of it stemmed from being lost. Since I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I got to college and figured out, oh, nope, absolutely not for me. And then I was just kind of lost and trying things for a few years. And then I found the electronic dance music community, and I instantly fell in love with it. I mean, that story I don't think is special to me. I think that kind of happens to everybody that finds this community. And one day I was leaving an event and I was just kind of having a tough day. And then I was talking to my friend and I said, I don't know what to do with my life. You know, I'm in my early 20s, so that's what you think about. And she goes, why don't you be a DJ? You love music more than anyone I've ever known, anyone I've ever met. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it. And the moment I found somebody that had CDJs, and that was it. That was it. And that was back in 2010, and I haven't looked back since.
I love that. I love that you tried it and you're like, yep, this is for me.
It was. Yeah, absolutely. I had never had anything that felt that right the first moment that I tried it. So that's a sign, right? I think so.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I know for a lot of artists, I don't know about you, but when I was first coming into the scene, social media was a new thing. And people actually used to make fun of me for using social media to try to promote myself. And now people are like trying to hire like people like yourself to run their social media. You're a freaking queen at it. I share a lot of your content. So but you guys are like, wow, Kilma, like you share some hilarious stuff. Yeah, I am sharing it from her page. You're amazing. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you think people are winning and losing at this game of social media. Maybe you could dive into your thoughts on key branding elements when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think still with people, there is the stigma about using the internet to promote themselves. If you even think 10 years ago when people were doing online dating, you didn't tell people that you met people online. Now, how else do adults meet each other? Social media is no different when it comes to branding. This is a valid community. This is a place where artists can reach people all around the world. It transcends time because you can put something online and someone in a different time zone can find it whenever they want to, and it transcends space. We're living in an era that has never existed before. So why wouldn't we utilize it? So first thing you have to do is kind of break down the stigma of using the internet as a great tool to reach not just the audiences in your backyard, but worldwide if that's what you want. I think social media has also kind of changed the culture of the way we communicate with each other. You don't have as much small talk anymore. You have a lot of people that are okay with sitting behind a computer and saying whatever they want and getting away with it. And so there are benefits to that and both downfalls to that. I think in the way that people are winning is that they are understanding that this is a community that can be utilized, and there is just so much content that you can share that was not available 20 years ago. Memes were not a thing. This brand of reaching people and entertaining people, that didn't exist. Viral videos were real weird in the early 2000s. If you remember Salad Fingers or anything weird like that, E-Bounds World, right? It was weird, but now it's matured a little bit. It's still a new platform, so we're still figuring it out. But we definitely have a certain kind of etiquette and a certain kind of culture. So I think people are recognizing that, and that's a great way to, I guess, win in this industry. What people are doing that they're losing with, they're getting offended. And I don't mean that in a non-PC kind of way. I'm pretty PC and I respect PC culture very much. But you're going to have people that never want you to win. There are people that take superficial joy in seeing you fail. And I mean, I get sucked into it too. I engage with someone that I shouldn't engage with. You're never going to change their mind. It's never going to happen. What you can do is ignore it and move on, or say your piece and decide, that's it. That's all I'm going to say, and then I'm putting it behind me. I think another thing that people are doing when they're losing is they're engaging with social media and it doesn't bring them joy. I run a social media business, like a management business, and I do consultations. I had a client that runs a podcast, and he was very fearful of devoting too much time to social media and not enough to his creative process for the podcast. And I kind of told him, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. Find somebody to do it for you, or do the minimum and find other ways to reach your audiences. It should be fun, is what it is. It can be thought-provoking. It can be prolific. It can be something that changes the world. But if you're not enjoying doing it, don't. Just absolutely don't. That's, I think, I don't want to say my best piece of advice, but it's so important. You've got to have fun with it.
Yeah, you bring up so many important points. Yeah, you can be politically correct and you can still be hilarious. And yeah, you're going to piss people off sometimes because you're talking about some thought-provoking content. But I feel like that's how I find my tribe. And like you were saying before, you know, sometimes you're like, should I engage with this person? But at the end of the day, yeah, maybe you're not going back and forth, but maybe you're just leaving that thought-provoking comment that is going to reach somebody, and they're going to be like, wow, I really appreciate the fact that she stood up for herself and then she let it go. You know, she let go of the outcome. And yeah, you share some pretty amazing stuff. And I've watched your interactions with people. You are on point. So it's so lovely because it took me years to figure that out. And it's lovely to see you utilizing that. And your point about not doing something if it's not bringing you joy. I don't know about you, but sometimes when people say, oh, I don't have time for social media, blah, 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 blah. The reality is they're actually on social media fighting with people unrelated to their brand. And they think that's what it's going to look like when they start marketing themselves and that it's going to be cheesy. But people are so they really misunderstand good marketing because they hear that word and they're like, oh, that's so corporate.
It is. It's a weird box that people put themselves into. Oh, what is your brand? It almost makes me cringe, but it's so important. Yeah. So important. If you can, all that branding is figuring out, okay, what is the product that I'm sharing or what is the service that I'm sharing? So we'll take me, I'm a DJ. Okay, what do I want people to think of when they think of Confetti the First? Yeah. Number one thing, fun. That's my whole brand, is fun. I'm not trying to change lives. I'm trying to give you a great time. And if I make your life better in the process, then that's two birds in one stone. Mm-hmm. I got kind of lucky because that kind of came to me, but it's important for people really to take the time to figure out their brand. And a lot of their brand comes from who they are as a person. So it is really introspective, which can be kind of scary, but it's really important to do as a human being anyway. Yes. And if you're going to be if you're going to be an adult human being, and if you're going to be something that is essentially a product, you better know what the hell you're giving people. It is so important to do.
I mean, yeah, it's like Oprah saying, know thyself, know thy brand.
Know thy brand. That's absolutely it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that you bring that up. Thank you. When you think about people in the industry that are crushing it, who comes to mind? Maybe you can give us some insight on what it looks like to you to follow your dreams. You know, what's pushing you? What does that motivation look like? I know that was like 4 questions in one, but
pushes me. Honestly, my brand pushes me a lot. And maybe I've gotten lucky with that's what I wanted my brand to do. But maybe that's what a brand is. It's not just who you are, but what do you want to do? Well, I want to give people a really good time. I want people to have fun. I want us to have a party together. So that's what pushes me, is to bring people joy. And that might not be the same for everybody. Some people might want to, I guess, bring people to a higher elevation, or, align their chakras, or shake up the world politically, or start a revolution, and that's fine. But what pushes me is fun, because being an adult is hard, and we should have fun. It sounds so superficial, but it's so important. Like, life is too short not to have fun with it. Don't be irresponsible, but have fun.
yeah,
that's a big part. It's hard to find fun. It's hard to find slivers of joy in the monotony of your day, So if that's something I can bring to people, it's very, very motivational to do so.
and I think it's important to remember that you can experience joy at any point. Because, we'll be having a bad day and we're just like, it's a bad day. And like, it can turn around at any point. And I love what you're saying here. Like, yeah, I just am trying to find the joy, trying to bring the fun, trying to like change that experience. I can really appreciate that.
It's very much a part of the dance music community. You don't go to a nightclub to start a revolution. You go to a nightclub to escape, but also to maybe find yourself. Yes. Music helped me do that. Music helped me find myself more than anything else, I guess. And so if I can, and that brings joy too, so it all fits on brand.
Well, and, to kind of backtrack a little bit about social and being vocal with your point and your message, I'd love to hear your take on visibility for queer people and women in the industry and non-binary.
Yeah, it's really important, especially for your social media presence. Part of the double-edged sword with social media presence is that anybody can engage with you with very little consequence. So that's where it's important to have the courage to be seen, and also know when it's okay to disengage, when it's coming to a point of detriment for yourself. In the dance music community and online, I think that it is a place that is trying to be more inclusive, because and maybe it sounds a little elitist, but most people can access the internet. Most people can have a Facebook page if they're already in, a position of their peers, at least in the Western world. You know what I mean? It's important to be seen not only for yourself, but for other people that are like you. I remember the first time I saw a female DJ, I was blown away, because I was like, oh, I didn't know this was for girls. And then I saw like a brown woman DJing, and I said, oh, I thought this was something only for white and black people. And then I saw queer DJs. Oh, I didn't know this was a place for anyone but straight people. Just being an example for other people can change their lives. If I hadn't seen that first female DJ 10 years ago, I wouldn't be who I am today. Just seeing her exist in this space made such a big difference. Since we're living in a world where the internet and social media is a community within itself, I think it's important to have the courage to be seen there. But know your limits with it too. Know when you have to disengage. Know when it's not bringing you joy. Know when it's not making your life better. And a lot of that goes back to that self-awareness and, I guess, staying on brand. Nobody's brand is hurt yourself until you're not able to give anymore, right? That's negative. So it sounds so basic, but all you have to do is have the courage to be seen. That's what visibility is. And understanding if you're in a marginalized community, if you have a certain identity that's maybe not, the norm, find other people that are like you, and it will strengthen you both. It will strengthen the whole community. It's very important to do.
I love that you talk about that. I just finished an interview with DJ Ripley about, many different topics. And one of them was about visibility. And yeah, seeing people like you can give you that inspiration, but also being the kind of promoter that is looking for people that, are going to add that diversity, because not only is it important in building our scene and supporting various groups of people, but building your fan base as well, to say, like, we support all people here. And like you said, you saw someone, it's like somebody that looks like you, somebody that acts like you, like things that remind you of, hey, like this could be me as well. Like, I feel like that's so important. I really appreciate that you bring this up. I've actually been in a few groups with you online. So like the Block to Block Radio, and also like God Save the Queen, and like it is such a badass. It's so dope, because like, we're visible to one another. We can share our insight and stories and be heard. But keeping on the topic of music as well, I'd love to hear how you're curating these good vibe DJ sets that I know people are just absolutely loving.
Well, I appreciate that. A lot of that, again, goes back to my brand and what I'm trying to give people. Every time I put on these silly gloves, like, I become confetti, as silly as it sounds. But that means, okay, it's showtime. That means it's time to be someone that is going to be seen and can be influential to other people and can bring people fun and joy. So for myself, I play kind of more serious genres. I'll play techno or deep house or things like that. But that's more behind closed doors, and sometimes I'll do a live stream. But if I'm out at an event, if I'm at a party or a festival at a rave, like, you better know we're going to have a fantastic time. A lot of that, I think, comes from a certain empathy with your crowd. Just read your crowd, see what tracks work, see what tracks don't, and a certain selflessness. You have to understand, if you're hired to play an event, you're there to make people feel good. You're there to make people dance. You're there to make the whole party a success. So maybe you want to play this track, but it might not fit, but you really like the track. Maybe don't play it, because it might kill the vibe. And don't kill my vibe. That's the whole thing, right? So that's what it is. I put these sets together really with the audience in mind, and I love every song that I have. I'm not a producer, I'm a DJ. So it's a different type of relationship with a song that somebody else made versus something you made yourself. The way that I speak to people is, hey, here's the song that I like, and I hope you like it too. But you can only put that together in a way that'll make them dance. And so while you're putting your sets together, you have to think, okay, does this work? Will this work for the people that I'm going to play for? Next week, I have 4 gigs in 4 different cities, and they're all different events. And each of those sets is going to be completely different. So it's also keeping your audience in mind. It's really important to understand, okay, well, what's my age range? Like, what's the set time? my indoors, my outdoors? Is it a sober event? Like, is it a festival? Taking all those elements and variables into consideration for, to give that audience the best time that they can have. That's all it is. Think about your audience. That's what I think is the most important thing.
And isn't it wonderful how we can both think about our audience and still bring a vibe that is true to ourselves? Because I think people can sometimes get lost in that, in thinking, if I play for my audience, then I'm not playing for myself. It's like, you can do both. You just can't be lazy.
Why not both? Yeah. I agree. You still get to have your own style, but your style doesn't have to fit into a certain box. It's still you.
Mm-hmm.
Still absolutely you. Here's an example. I hope it's not too off topic. Sometimes when you're playing a set, you'll have a friend come up behind you and be like, "Oh, what's that song?" I think it's called Train Spotting. I'd be like, "Oh, well, this is the track." I'm never threatened if somebody wants to play that same track. In fact, I will email it to them later because I want them to have it, because music should be for everybody, I think. No two DJs are going to play the same two songs the same way ever, 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 ever. And that comes completely down to style. You and I can play the same two tracks, kind of at the same cue points, but it's going to sound different from when you do it to when I do it. So maybe that fits under the umbrella of branding as well. Figure out your style, figure out who you are, and run with it.
I love that you say that. I like right now just thinking about them, like that would make such a great workshop to like teach people how to DJ, or like just give them some pointers and then let everybody kind of find their own way of doing it with the same two tracks and see how different. That's so cool. And I love that you do that. The sharing of music. I can't tell you how much it's mean to me when someone's done that, especially when I've been given a record. Like someone's like, and obviously this is kind of back in the day, but like someone was like, "Here you go, have this record." And,
blown away.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you. And then run away. So speaking of events, I'd love to end this interview off hearing about all the wonderful things that you've got coming up. Mixes, events, interviews.
Sure.
Yeah. And let us, and we'll obviously have links for everything below, but tell people where they can find your social media business page as well.
All right. Thank you. I guess next week is really fun. 4 gigs in 4 different cities, and 3 of those gigs are in the same 24 hours. I am very tired just thinking about it. It's a lot of driving. Next week, you can see me Wednesday in Fairfax, Virginia, at an event called Transit. Pretty well known in the tri-state area here. On Friday, you can catch me at Big Dub Music Festival in Pennsylvania. Is rated the 14th best music festival in the country. Go Big Dub. That's from 2 to 3 a.m. Then you can see me at Otakon, which is a big anime convention in Washington, D.C. I'll be starting off the dance party from 9 to 10 p.m. And then you can catch me back in Baltimore at, what's the place called? Factory 17 from about 2 to 5 a.m. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Other than that, every 4th Saturday of the month, I am on a radio show in Baltimore called The Audio Infusion on 88.9 FM, and then I post the links online. And every Tuesday, you can catch me on More Bass Radio. It's an online radio station, Tuesdays 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I also post the links online. As far as handles for everything, I think everything is under Confetti the First, FIRST.
That is smart branding, people. Get the real estate.
Consistency is so important. Get the handle even if you don't think you're going to use it. I don't use Snapchat, but I have the handle anyway. Do it. Very important. Claim your handles. So Mixcloud, SoundCloud, YouTube, Tumblr, Facebook, everything, whatever URL /Confetti the First, FIRST.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today. I so totally appreciate it. It's so nice to connect with you face to face after like going back and forth online too. It's like, hey girl. For the rest of you that are tuned in, was there something that she said today that really stood out to you? Let us know in the comments below what that point, that perspective was that she shared, and how are you going to apply it to your life today? As always, make sure you don't let no one kill your vibes.